Hey, g'day everyone. Tarun Freestone here, coming to you out in the world wherever you are. Today we're going to do a little breakdown, a theory. It's purely a theory, what I call the full picture. And in it, I will endeavor to elaborate on why I believe what I believe. What is a theory to some might be enough for others as a conviction to pursue investments and other decisions that will have massive ramifications in one's life, like dumping a large amount of money into a particular stock or crypto. Before we launch into that, note that I am not a financial advisor and everything I do say is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult with a financial advisor if you wish to make any decisions financially that involve cryptocurrency, as it is a very volatile asset and you may get wrecked. Also, please give me a like on this video. I really appreciate it, and provide any commentary about what you would like next time around as we deep dive today on the power play that is the full picture of XRP. Also, give me a like, head over to X, give me a like on that, and follow along for all my reposts and comments and quotes on ongoing events and happenings in the world of XRP and the cryptocurrency macro wider economic outlook. Today we are just under $1 billion, so $1,000 million US locked away in XRP ETFs, and we have seen a number of announcements recently regarding CFTC categorization of the asset, allowing it on Bitnomial, who has been a well-recorded partner with Ripple and XRP community since the SEC lawsuits. Bitnomial now utilizing XRP and RLUSD as a collateral on par with the US dollar. So massive current undergoings in our sphere. And without further ado, let's launch into the full picture. We would understand South Korea to be the front line for America against the China threat. Now, firstly, before we launch into it, I have no ill feelings towards any particular nation. This is just a observation that may be right, may be wrong, and it's theorizations of somebody on YouTube. So take it with a grain of salt. Don't make any big decisions. And I'm just theorizing based on what I see and connecting dots, which might be real, might not be real. I'll leave it up to you to decide. So Europe and the West, so that would be Spain, Italy, places like Sweden, England, America, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, even India to some degree is now leaning towards the West. They all have a sympathetic desire to restrict China's growth and power, as they are clearly, if not already the superpower on Earth, very much near it. They are the mass producer on Earth. They have the most cargo vessels on Earth. They are far and away technologically superior to most other nations on Earth, bar America. And this particular breakdown touches upon something that would be in the best interest of those nations to mediate the power of China, should they wish it. So another thing that's touched on in this breakdown is the idea that we're transitioning from a conversion between asset class styles. So we have an inflationary and we have a deflationary asset. So inflationary being fiat currencies and deflationary being Bitcoin or XRP, which is burnt. And once it's burnt, that's all that happens in terms of the fixed supply being reduced permanently. The geopolitical context and the players. The person that's actually running this is Peter Thiel. We'll get into who he is in a second. We have JD Vance, and Ripple, as the visible faces are, of course, Chris Larsen and Brad Lockyn-Garlinghouse. The US Treasury, the Fed, the United States Federal Reserve System, the actual controllers using Ripple as a proxy, and the SEC, who appear combative, are actually a framework in disguise of a lawsuit. The big boys, BlackRock and Vanguard, institutional partners, and us, me and you, the retail crowd who have given this theatre credence by our mere participation in the psychological experiment of will it fly on the coattails of the Bitcoin experiment. So the timeline, 2012 to 2017, build the infrastructure, install escrow control mechanism, 2017 to 2020, let it run wild. In the retail space, 2020 to 24, SEC warfare or lawsuit creates legal framework and process suppression. 2024 to 2025, settlement clears path, ETF launch begins. 25 to 26, the yen carry stabilization and small final ETF accumulation phase. And 2026, BlackRock launched Signal Go Time, priced to $100, and government has de facto control of $3.7 billion asset. So feel free to click off and skip away if that's enough for you, but let's go through the breakdown and understand how this is going to play out and why it's so important in the wider scheme of what we understand in the last 250 years of America's existence and why it matters so much to the West. The brilliance, why this is genius. XRP appears decentralized. It's not. Ripple appears independent. It's not. The lawsuit appeared adversarial. It wasn't. The ETF appears like market demand. It's coordinated supply. And the escrow appears like responsible tokenomics. It's actually price control or monetary policy. Every single bad thing that has happened to XRP, the delisting, the lawsuit, the price suppression, was actually building the perfect government-controlled bridge currency in the background. The smoking gun, the 42-month timeline that breaks down from now to mid-2028, where we will see the next presidential election. Who benefits from $100 XRP really, besides just us, the XRP crowd? Whoever controls the escrow, which would be at $100, $3.7 trillion. The monthly 300 million XRP releases is a business decision, as I mentioned. It's monetary policy. The theater. The question is, how many people inside Ripple know they're actors versus how many know they are actually, or how many think they're actually running a company? Do you think Larson and Garlinghouse have no clue? They are instead true believers who don't realize they're being used? The answer is they have been included in Peter Thiel's dialogues, and a lot of my work has been spurred on by the great work from Cashew Nate. So thanks, Nathan Derryman. Go and give Cashew Nate a follow. Give Jake Claver a follow, as well as he has given our Aussie brother down under that platform. So a lot of my theories are based on a great deal of work that are uncovered by him, but I take it a step further into understanding why, from a macro perspective, this is more than just a ongoing open, progress of natural markets, but it's been a plan. And it's been worked on to fight directly China. I don't think that was brought up concurrently within his thesis, and that's the true underlying reason why this is being brought in, and it's a reason why I personally am backing it, because I enjoy the life that I have in the West, and the current status quo is something that I would wish to maintain, only because I believe communism hasn't worked in the last 1,000 years, and we have hundreds of millions of dead bodies to prove that. So I would rather sort of settle for a false capitalism or democracy, even if it's not the best and it's not as transparent as we could. But all that theological stuff aside, let's keep going. The Thiel-Vance Ripple Nexus, Peter Thiel's network, he's already built Palantir up from the ground up, and obviously that was a CIA-motivated business model, which has accumulated a great vast amount of data on humans and their current, even genealogies, I believe. So he has come from the PayPal mafia founder. Palantir was a government surveillance intelligence company and early Facebook investor, JD Vance mentor and backed, and it funded his Senate run. Advocates for government control of strategic tech. JD Vance, we all know him, vice president. He's a Thiel protege, pro-crypto publicly, access to executive power, perfect sleeper agent for coordinated crypto policy. The dialogue conventions, which are basically you hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil, and you record nothing, and you just have a conversation, and then you watch a plan fold out for 20 years. That sounds like something that the only most intelligent people in the world would be able to conduct and do with vision and conviction that would fulfill such a plan. Public debates are pre-scripted, participants know the plan, everyone profits from coordination. Why they're all in on it. Chris Larson, Stanford MBA educated, founded multiple fintech companies, understands power structures. Brad Garlinghouse, former Yahoo exec, SVP, so senior vice president at AOL. Man of the moment, Mr. David Schwartz. He actually built the protocol as well as building Bitcoin with a series of others during the Brave New Coin era. And Peter Thiel, who literally writes books about monopoly and power structures, and obviously Yale law is strong there. Another Yale graduate who is a quarterback for Yale has currently come out and is planted in the White House Crypto Policy Committee. These are gentlemen who, to the likes of David Icke and others, just portray an actor in the space. And I think it may have been a British commentator once upon a time said that all parliamentarian behaviour and the such, and indeed all the all the rulers are just paid actors at the end of the day. They all know. That's the point of the story. They all know, and the control architecture is as follows. The architecture is layer 1, the protocol itself. You already know about XRP, 100 billion fixed supply, escrow mechanism is price control, and centralized validators despite decentralization claims. The legal framework, SEC lawsuit creates a two-tier system. Institutional sales are securities and controlled. Retail sales are not securities, and the escape valve for when they need exit liquidity. Settlement timing equals perfect regulatory clarity for government use. Layer 3, the political network. These two men will keep coming up over and over again throughout the presentation, and they are the most important people for the next 8 years of the United States as a superpower, if they are to indeed remain the superpower on Earth. White House access, Ripple, if Fed and the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency application, strategic reserve discussions, even if rejected, and ETF coordinated with BlackRock and Fidelity. So that's White House access that is forcing those particular actions. Layer 4, the monetary mechanism, as I mentioned, that monthly release, it could be, and it will most likely be, moved up from the 300 million XRP to 700 million. It offers a coordinated selling pressure at a current price. At $100, it would be 30 billion monthly liquidity for government operations, and for the sake of replacing SWIFT without congressional approval, it would be a very, very intelligent move. Provides dollar alternative controlled by the US interests. Once again, I don't know anything. I'm just a simple man making random theories up, but this is what has allowed me to maintain an air of conviction about putting a large quantity of asset and resource that I have into a particular decision or asset indeed. The yen carry trade connection, the final piece, a 6-month minimum timeline because of yen instability. So Jake Claver and Zach Rector and a lot of people in the influencer community have always talked about the Japan carry trade unwinding. My theory was it wouldn't make sense to appear weak in terms of a global economic stature because, let's be honest, South Korea and Japan are the front lines for America to control and contain the entire Asia Pacific area. And they are really proxies and have been for a vast amount of time, specifically because you made one of the banks give out loans for free forever since 1980s or something. They represent a clear pawn or rook or bishop on the chessboard for America to pull and push around as they need to, and they will need those particular people to be strong. So absorbing the selling pressure of the Japan carry trade is possibly what they will be doing, and manipulating the markets to absorb it whilst they unload their positions and get everyone to put their money. And when I mean everyone, I mean literally everyone. There's something that I want to touch on, that in Australia, we all have Commonwealth Bank of Australia shares. It's our biggest, I think it's our biggest company, potentially. It may be second to Rio Tinto and BHP Billiton in terms, but it's one of our biggest, if not the biggest company. And we all own shares in our Roth IRA for our Americans or our 401ks, because every superannuation fund or every, mandatory, we all mandatorily have to contribute to a superannuation fund, a 401k, a Roth IRA. It's the government edict over here. So our superannuation, all has to buy, by law, Commonwealth Bank of Australia shares. And that is what is going to happen with all the money inside all of the Fidelities, the Vanguards, and the BlackRocks with America's money. They will all be mandatorily made to buy into this infrastructure. So that is a way in which they can unwind the trade. Need global liquidity, so the 14 to 20 trillion yen carry trade funds everything. An unwind would force liquidations of all their positions, so they cannot launch the XRP price run during liquidity crisis. Once the yen stabilizes, BlackRock files, and everything goes to 100. The coordination required means they all must know when to file the ETFs, when to increase the escrow releases, when to settle with the SEC, which has already happened, when to apply for Fed accounts, which has already happened, and when to launch marketing, which is happening. It's happening. It's happening. Have you seen that recently in New York? It's happening with Ripple. The beautiful conspiracy. What makes this brilliant? Plausible deniability for all participants. They can claim independence, not knowledge of anyone else. Regulatory theatre. The lawsuit provides cover for the control mechanism. Millions of holders provide liquidity and decentralization, and international acceptance appears neutral but US controlled. No congressional approval needed. That's how America can make this look like it's what the market wants. And to be honest with you, it's what I want. It's what everyone should want. from the West. The 42-month escrow timeline isn't random. It's a policy implementation schedule. Are they in on it? Yeah, absolutely. When you're in Teal's dialogue meetings, you're not discussing philosophy. You're coordinating the next decade of American power regulation through technology. The real question is, are XRP retail holders unwitting participants? For the most part, I am. In the creation of the US government's digital currency weapon, or is their profit motivation alignment enough? I would think that would be enough. If XRP went to $100, everyone I know would be much better off, and that should be enough of a reason for them to stick around and watch this go the whole way. So at $100 XRP, retail holders get rich, government gets $3.7 trillion of an asset that they can control through proxy, and Teal's network consolidation power agenda is fulfilled. You've got to remember, these are the most intelligent and powerful men that are coming out of the structures of institutional power in America. Let's just call it, it is what it is. It's Caucasian power, it's white institutions, and it's been around for the last 250 years. They are looking to preserve their way of life, and this would be one of the most intelligent ways to do that. The final verdict, that is, this is the most sophisticated wealth transfer and power consolidation mechanism ever constructed, and it's hiding in plain sight as just another crypto. The question is, do you think they'll actually let it run to 100, or will they pull the rug at a lower number? Now, we go into why they won't. It's because of the China threat. So what has China been doing in response? Let's have a look at how they've been going in their insane comeuppance over the last 30, 40, 50 years. Endgame, financial warfare with China. Digital yuan is the first major CBDC already deployed. The Belt and Road Initiative of $1 trillion of infrastructure, creating yuan-denominated trade corridors. I just want a personal note. I know they do this for fact in Sri Lanka. I'm sure it's elsewhere. They actually, a Chinese company owns an airstrip out in Perth in Australia. It's just crazy. So they're already here in Australia. Private airport in the middle of nowhere in not Perth, in the middle of nowhere in Western Australia. Sorry, Perth. It's one place, isn't it? Anyway, that's like calling the state of Ohio Akron or something. Anyway, the point is, they have a place in Sri Lanka that they've got on a 100-year lease, and they are leasing it from Sri Lanka. That is theirs literally because they gave donations to Sri Lanka. They are owning the port. The port allows them to fulfill that, as I said, that Silk Road, or that now they're going to try and make it a gold corridor initiative. They're doing this all over. They're doing it in Pakistan. They're doing it in Bangladesh. They're doing it anywhere that they need money in the developing world, as well as in Africa. The BRICS currency, more so that we would choose to settle in an asset that's not the dollar. That's more so the BRICS currency. I know they're working on it, but it's just simply the fact that India still is settling in rubles with Russia, and those sorts of arrangements are in place. The SWIFT alternative is the cross-border interbank payment system, already processing yuan transactions. And Saudi Arabian oil deals are breaking the petrodollar monopoly. That's why recently they went over there and sold them a bunch of military hardware that theoretically you may think America might have bugged, so they can control and keep Saudi on a short leash. So through the traditional channels, you would say that US is losing the currency war. So that's why this is so important, that they absorb their debt or absorb their power through a mechanism that replaces SWIFT. The SWIFT daily volume is $5 to $6 trillion. That's 27 trillion trapped globally in Nostro-Vostro accounts. A proposal suggesting XRP to unlock $1.5 trillion trapped in just the US banks of Nostro accounts, and potentially link that into the $27 trillion global market. At current price of $2.18, I know it's $2.08 at the moment. I made this a little while ago. XRP market cap would be 130 billion. That's insufficient to service the global settlement layer, but at $100, now we're talking $6 trillion market cap, and escrow valued at 3.7 trillion, which can be granted and gifted to the American government. If that was a bit too outright, you may think that they would just keep Brad Garlinghouse's proxy and manipulate and use variously as they need to anybody who is in charge of Ripple. Now we're talking about a USD alternative that can actually settle international trade. So that view, or that look, that it's decentralized, it's what the wider global community wants, is upheld to. And theoretically, as long as no one is speaking directly about this, and it's just been discussed in 2012, the year of dialogue convention, of Peter Thiel's dialogue convention. Brad Garlinghouse the next year became CEO of Ripple, and it's just a plan that's always just lip service only. It's theoretically not a coordinated visual attempt, but it is a coordinated attempt to homogenize power and maintain the hegemony of the West. So some of us, such as Jake Claver, famously state that we can see, 5, 6, 7 digits maybe one day, and that would just at $500 would have a market cap of 30 trillion, which rivals the entire US bond market today, and can absorb global trade flows. And we are seeing the SEC chair of Paul Atkins come out and state that in the next 2 years, everything will be tokenized on the global, the US markets. So it's happening, and it's happening in slow motion. The China checkmate strategy. So this is the whole purpose of having a high XRP dollar, and this is something that I don't think formally has been mentioned by any other influencer. It's more me just pointing directly at the thing, and I'm talking about the thing, which is this is all about maintaining US dominance on Earth. So price suppression has happened up until now, since 2020 to 25, and it's been happening, and that has allowed this SEC lawsuit to provide a cover for accumulation, and retail provides liquidity. The price was kept low while China was building digital yuan infrastructure. Regulatory clarity has come in the last year, so settlement creates legal framework, and the ETFs provide institutional on-ramp. The Fed and the Office of the Comptroller integration legitimizes as US controlled. And here we have BlackRock and Vanguard, the big boys. Their trigger of launch, which has happened, Vanguard has now started to allow their coffers of 11 trillion to come into contact with all the 11 XRP ETFs out there, or 13 now, I think we're at. Government increases escrow releases to 600, 700 million a month of XRP, and price runs to $100 on genuine institutional demand, and that's over the next year or so. Then phase 4 is global adoption. You will be told, voluntold, what to do in this situation. $100 plus for banks globally, which can use XRP for the settlement layer. It replaces SWIFT as decentralized but US controlled rails, and countries choose XRP because it's neutral. It's not. And China's digital yuan regulated to domestic use, or relegated to domestic use only. The Teal Vance strategy is what you'll see. This coincides with the worldview, which is to see China as an existential threat to the Western way of life. I'm not here to advocate either or. I'm just saying what I believe might be true. It's one of the options. It's one of the possibilities out there. Advocates offensive tech dominance, not defensive. Palantir model of government plus private sector fusion, and XRP is Palantir for money. That's a very powerful statement. With JD Vance as should be president of that state. I should just rewrite the books here. And direct executive branch access can coordinate without Congress, crypto-friendly public stance, and Teal's agenda is US policy from that moment on. The dialogue meetings strategy. I'll just touch the famous line that JD Vance said when he witnessed Peter Thiel's discourse and presentation inside, was it Yale? It was Yale when he saw him in his business economics class. It was one of the most pivotal moments of my life, and I'm paraphrasing that, but it was a very important moment for Mr. Vance. Those sorts of things make lasting impacts. These aren't brainstorming sessions, these dialogue meetings in which Brad Garlinghouse has been a part of, as well as I'm sure Vance. They are coordination meetings. So timing of regulatory moves, when the SEC settlement will, ETF launch sequencing, small players, then BlackRock eventually. Price management is escrow release calibration, and media narrative retail enrichment story. So that's where we are. We are just one part of this, and we are to generate a buzz. That's what the purpose of the biggest influences out there, from blockchain backer all the way through to the smaller ones, is to create a buzz, make it the mainstream, and slowly we will all be filtered into the supporting structure of the infrastructure layer that is Ripple. All our money, all our energies will be pushed, whether we like it or not, through ETFs or indeed mandatory investments. It is becoming part of the big hedge funds' purview to invest in crypto. We will all be injected into that resource, which is what they are needing from us. They're needing our energy, all our money, all our superannuation, all our retirement funds, real estates to be commoditized and tokenized and put on the blockchain. And that is all in attempts to ensure they have all the money they need to fight off any other big boy on the playground. Why it has to go to 100, I've mentioned that, but what are the advantages that China has in this? The command the economy can force adoption, can mandate digital yuan use in trade. Belt and Road countries need China's financing. So the Kenya of the earth, the Sri Lanka of the earth, they all need some investments, and China is happy to give out money for influence and sway in their communities. And one thing that has to be mentioned is China is hoarding gold. One of the weaknesses of gold is you need to trust the seller and the refiner, which doesn't always come easy. And the only way to check is if you melt it down. So not with blockchain. Blockchain allows you to know immediately based on a mathematical calculation how much is out there and how much is in your possession, so you can know its true value. That being said, China is going with the gold route, and who knows if we'll ever know exactly really how much America and the West of Germany and all those other countries have in gold. US countermove can't force XRP adoption, the free market narrative, but can make it economically irresistible for all of us. At $100, early adopters, including retail, get 50x returns. If you were lucky enough to get in on the ground floor, $2 creates FOMO amongst nations, and it's the get rich or get left behind beats use our CBDC mentality, which is what China's doing. The genius is China built a controlled system, the digital yuan, and US built an apparently uncontrolled system, XRP. I assume China is aware of this, but at the end of the day, it's not about what China thinks or the power is within the leadership of China. It's about what you can convince the rest of the world to go along with. Ripple holds 4.7 billion XRP in escrow and 4.95 billion in corporate balances. Sure, if it ever gets to $100, they would be one of the most rich companies on earth. It's just as controlled, but it looks decentralized. The yen carry trade as a trigger, so that's over the next 6 months. It will be the linchpin. The 40-year bond market's already soaring up past 3.6. I saw today the 20-year yield was like 2.9. So it is already at that stage where they need to start unwinding. Why this matters for China: so yen carry funds US risk assets, crypto accumulation, and unwind would crash global markets. China would benefit. Stabilization required before XRP launched to 100, and one stable coordinated move can happen without China interference. If the yen carry unwinds chaotically, the US looks weak. If yen carry stabilizes, US can launch XRP strategy. That's why they need this next 6 months to manage Japan's transition out of "we're not going to charge interest on our free money" economy to "we want some interest on the money we loan out." So the full schedule is now. We're in December 2025. This is the final timeline I will hit you with. Small ETFs are going on. Yen carry trade is unstable. Price hovering to $2 to $3. China thinks they're winning with the digital yuan and all their options with the Belt and Road Initiative and their gold corridor they're building. The yen carry stabilized through Japan's stimulus Fed coordination. And another thing I want to touch on the gold thing. Like, yes, gold is tangible. It's much better. But the push from the kids today is, I want crypto this year at Christmas, apparently. So our kids are already in an age where so much information is hitting them every day. They're already aware of how far behind the 8 ball they are when they're like 10, that they want crypto and they want assets. They're on a completely different trajectory and at a different pace now that, yes, the gold is the hard asset. It is tangible. It is desirable. But in 50 years, maybe it won't be, because you will be moving around so much that you can't trust anyone who holds your gold anymore. I don't know. Is Switzerland going to stay there forever? Who knows? So the very thing that is desirable today may not be tomorrow. Yen carry stabilized through Japanese stimulus Fed coordination. The BlackRock and Vanguards of the world file for an XRP ETFs, not just allowing their money to be invested in the ETFs. They file for one themselves. That's in Q2 of 2026, and signal to market the accumulation phase is over. 3 and 4, the big 3, including Fidelity, which has a little all-seeing eye there at the top of the pyramid in their logo. Big 4 ETFs launch, massive institutional inflows in Q3, 4 of 2026. And 5 to 10 billion in the first month just from those big 4. So that's Vanguard, State Street, Fidelity, BlackRock. And the Ripple increases release from 600 to 700 monthly. So they are consolidating all that new trillions of dollars of money into the actual asset and infrastructure that is XRP. And the price begins to naturally drift towards $50. 2027 rolls around and XRP establishes its $50 to $75 range. Banks begin testing for settlement. First major country is Saudi Arabia, potentially to announce XRP reserves. And then the China's digital yuan expansion stalls at that point. And this is very important because this will coincide immediately with Xi Jinping's plan to invade Taiwan. Now, given the current climate of the leadership of China, I don't think that anyone new would not wish to reunify. I hope so, because I think it's the only thing that really is a non-negotiable to stop. Now, I won't get too political, even though I've kicked over many political things. I just think America won't allow that for the reason that the TSMC, manufacturer of the most intelligent and most high-tech computer chips and microchips on Earth, is smack bang in Taiwan. I also do worry about if China does make a move, how that will affect the look and makeup of Earth. So I don't think it's I hope it doesn't happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I hope it doesn't happen. At that moment, in 2027, the year Xi Jinping is expected to make his move on Taiwan. All of a sudden, the XRP phoenix is rising from the ashes as a form of monetary and fiscal domination across Earth for the United States, as everyone is voluntold to jump in line and get some. 2028, if we're all still here and, nuclear winter isn't across Earth, XRP breaks $100. The US presidential election year occurs. JD Vance is a fait accompli as the man-elect by the powers that be to claim the crypto fintech leadership over Earth as chief and commander-in-chief of the United States, and China forced to respond, albeit too late. 2030 XRP is now the global currency bridge it was designed to be, and the US controls settlement layer and dollar hegemony preserved through a decentralized alternative. The ultimate insight, your ultimate insight from this presentation, they'll need it to maintain control over China. That is why it absolutely has to go to $100 eventually. Not because of speculation, not because of retail demand, not because of utility. It's because the United States cannot afford to lose the global payment rails to China. And XRP at $100 is the only credible weapon that looks like a market choice rather than government coercion. The truth is the price suppression was intentional. It was not incompetence. The SEC lawsuit wasn't adversarial. It was instead regulatory. And the escrow isn't tokenomics. It's monetary policy. It's all strategy timing for the most important financial weapon deployed since the Bretton Woods Agreement of the 1970s, where Kissinger went and he told Saudi Arabia, do not dare sell your oil in anything other than US dollars. They better be buying it in US dollars. The retail XRP holders, yeah, sure, they get rich based off the rich list. There's not many people holding a large amount of XRP, and given that there's roughly 2.3 million millionaires on Earth, adding another 50,000 wouldn't break the banks, and it wouldn't matter to anybody who was trying to hold on to power. Final question is, does China know? Yeah, of course they know this is happening. That's why they're accelerating the BRICS currency development plan. Crux of, in response, it's trying to push everyone to go to hard assets and use gold. Obviously, America's coming up second fiddle in that, and they always will be. As far as I know, I think they found trillions of dollars of gold underneath China most recently. So good luck with that one. If you want to try and take down the dragon on its gold, good luck. I think that this plan is the one that will work. It's the only one that will work, to be honest. Just a rehash of what's going on. We've got Franklin Templeton, Bitwise, currently Grayscale. They have gone live. The big four are waiting. State Street, as I mentioned. And I think this is just rehashing the government integration that I talked about. Oh, yes, the Federal Reserve master account. The visible rejected from strategic reserve. It's hidden. It's still operationally controlled without ownership from the US Treasury. The SEC are just framework installations. Comptroller gives them banking charter. And yeah, like I mentioned, that's the timeline there. Final assessment. This is not an investment. This is financial warfare. XRP is the US government's counter weapon to China. There is obviously things that China will do, which I've mentioned, to fight back. But it's just up in the air as to who's going to win this one. And I think we'll leave it there today. I don't really have anything new, but other than to say, XRP, I've only ever been exposed to the narrative that's out there on the mainstream, and potentially that's the only one that anyone is aware of. But it makes sense that given how expansive and powerful China has gotten, this potentially is going to be one of the levers that is most important to continue a peaceful control over someone who's equally as powerful as you. And it's through means where all the others in the room are siding with you out of choice. So it was a smart move by the boys in Stanford, I'll tell you that. Who wins? The US government maintains payment rails, controls $3.56 trillion at $100. Retail XRP holders, their enrichment aligns them with that. The teal network consolidates power. Banks unlock $27 trillion trapped in capital. Efficiency gains for everyone. That's globally. And institutions get massive returns on early positioning. Everyone except rival nations attempting to challenge the dollar hegemony, basically. The charade is Ripple appears independent. It's not. XRP appears decentralized. It's not. SEC appears adversarial. It wasn't. ETFs appear like market demand. It's actually coordinated supply. Price suppression appeared like failure. It's strategic timing. And retail thinks it's investment. It's weapons deployment. So the reality is everything is hiding in plain sight. It's just another crypto. The coordination is documented through the dialogue conventions. Timing precision is asserted. The intelligent level is incompatible with ignorance, too smart to be fooled, and the transfer capability exists, single transactions to government. The strategic necessity is clear. China must be counteracted or countered, and the timeline is perfect, 16 years from build to deployment. Okay, so thanks guys. Closing out, I really appreciate you stopping by. Please give this video a like and a subscribe if you found this content interesting, if you resonated with it, and I'll do more of the regular stuff and the deep dives as we go through these next couple of years. Once again, only theories, non-proven, but it's something that I hope gives some of you conviction in making some decisions. I'm not a financial advisor though, and you should consult with a financial advisor if you want to make any purchases of cryptocurrency, because you may get wrecked. And also, I will never approach you in the direct messages or the comments trying to sell you anything. I'm just an observer. I'm just watching what happens from here on out. So thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you on the flip side. I'm dedicated, highly educated, moves calculated.